I am back with another video. Before we may begin with this video, please do hit the subscribe button, like, comment and share with your fellow classmates. Also, please do turn your notification bells on so that whenever I post another video regarding this book, My Children, My Africa, you can be notified. Alright, so today we'll be looking at Act 1, Scene 2 of My Children, My Africa, Isabel's first monologue. Alright, so when we speak of a monologue, we are basically referring to a long speech that is done by one actor or character in a play or film. Alright, so Isabel reflects or thinks about her experience at Zolile High School. Remember, in Act 1, Scene 1, the great debates, Isabel went to Zolile High School with some of the learners from her school to have a debate with learners from Zolile High School. So now she is looking back, she is reflecting, she is thinking about her experience at Zolile High School in this monologue. Okay? So yes, Isabel reflects or thinks about her experience at Zolile High School in the Breakwater location. The Breakwater location was very terrible to such an extent that there has been talks going around about moving this location to where it cannot be seen. Isabel lived comfortably in an all-white neighborhood with her family. They had a lot of nicely restored national monument houses and buildings, and their shop was one of the nice buildings. Remember, Isabel's dad owned a chemist, right? So that chemist, their shop was one of the nice buildings. Most of the houses in the Breakwater location are made of bits of old corrugated iron. There are no gardens, there are potholes and stones, which makes it difficult to drive. So now that's the comparison between the two locations. Isabel's all-white neighborhood that is surrounded by beautiful buildings, as well as the Breakwater location that is filled with potholes on the road as well as stones. Remember, Isabel is reflecting, is thinking about her experience at Zolile High School in this monologue. Okay? Most of the houses in the Breakwater location are made of bits of corrugated iron. There are no gardens. There are potholes, stones, which makes it difficult to drive. Okay? Isabel asserts that she imagines what it would be like to live her whole life in one of those little condos. Alright? So condos, when we talk about condos, we're basically referring to the shelters made of wood or corrugated iron. Okay? So she's thinking, since she is reflecting, she's thinking as to, I wonder what it would be like to live in those little condos, houses or shelters made of old wood or corrugated iron. Okay? Where there is no running water, no electricity, and no privacy. Isabel also highlights that during the time of having a debate with the learners from Zolile High School, they were waiting for them in what they called the number 1 classroom. And she would rate the classroom as the most ugly or bleak, depressing, dingy classroom she has ever been into. Everything about the classroom was gray, the cement floor, the walls, and the ceiling. When Isabel first saw the classroom, she thought to herself, how does anyone study or learn anything here? That's how bad the classroom was, according to Isabel, whereas learners from Zolile High School as well as Mr. M referred that classroom as the best classroom, the number 1 classroom. But Isabel finds the classroom ugly and asks herself as to how can one be able to study or learn anything in such a classroom. When it was her turn to speak, when it was Isabel's turn to speak during the debate, she stood up and looked at those 40 unsmiling faces of learners from Zolile High School and realized that she had not prepared enough. Isabel has had contact across the color line, meaning Isabel has had contact with black people. For example, the auntie who works at her house, as well as Solomon who delivers medicine for his dad. So Isabel has had contact with people across the color line, with black people, but she had not had contact with a number of learners, 40 learners from Zolile High School, 40 black learners from Zolile High School. With that being said, Isabel, remember, is the boss's daughter, and obviously the auntie as well as Solomon respects her, Miss Dyson. Okay, so but in Brockwater, as she was in Brockwater, it was a different story. She was in their school. It was their world as well. She was the outsider, asked to prove herself during the debates, and Isabel felt exposed. Isabel had preconceived ideas. Preconceived ideas, we are basically talking about the ideas that she made in her mind before actually visiting Zolile High School, before actually going to the Brockwater location. So when she got there, her ideas were not in alignment with the reality of the location, of the Brockwater location. She discovered a whole new world. She always thought the Brockwater as a location that is just like an embarrassing backyard to their neat, proper little white world. Remember, I did say that, I did mention that there had been talks going around about Brockwater location being removed to where it cannot be seen. That's how ugly the place, or that's how embarrassing the place was to the white people, right? So Isabel had preconceived ideas that this location is just an embarrassing location, and that's that, only to discover that there are people living there, people in their own world, all right, the black people. Okay, so it's not the case. She discovers that it's a whole new world of its own, with its own life. All right, okay. So in this monologue, remember, a monologue, it's a long speech that is done by one character, yes, in a play or in a film. So after Isabel's visit to Zolile High School, in Act 1 Scene 1, in Act 1 Scene 2, she has her first monologue whereby she reflects or thinks or looks back about her experience at Zolile High School, her experience at Brockwater location. And this entire scene symbolizes the inequalities between black and white people during the apartheid years, during the apartheid regime. Reason being that, look at how Isabel is shocked or astonished when she sees the living conditions at when she looks at the living conditions in the Brockwater location. When she looks at the houses, she regards them as little pondocks, shelters made of wood or corrugated iron, and she even asked herself as to how can one live in a place like this, where there is no running water, where there is no electricity, where there is no privacy. Moving to the classroom, remember that the debates took place in the number 1 classroom. So the people, or the learners as well as the teachers from Zolile High School, regarded that classroom as their best classroom, the number 1 classroom. Whereas Isabel, when she gets into the classroom, she is astonished, she is shocked as to why do people call this classroom the number 1 classroom, because it is ugly, it is depressing, it is dingy, everything is gray. And she also asks herself as to how can one be able to learn or study anything in this place. So that's the inequalities between the black and white people during the apartheid years. So that's basically what is happening. That's basically what is happening in Act 1 Scene 2 in Isabel's monologue. So now let us move on and look at the comments on Act 1 Scene 2. So this scene has several important functions. Character and theme development. Let's look at character and theme development. The scene reveals more about Isabel's character by giving the audience insights into her growing political and social awareness. Her preconceived ideas about the location and the people who live there are challenged by her visits to Zolile High School. It develops the theme of inequality during the apartheid years. I did mention that, right? Inequality in the living conditions. Inequality in the living conditions. Remember, little conducts where there is no privacy, where there is no electricity, where there is no running water, the streets filled with potholes and stones. And then inequalities in terms of schooling conditions. The number one classroom, the black people, the learners from Zolile High School regarded that classroom as their number one classroom, whereas Isabel regards that classroom as the one of the ugliest classroom, dingy, it is depressing, everything is dark and gray, right? So this entire scene symbolizes the inequalities between black and white people during the apartheid years. It symbolizes the inequalities in terms of the living conditions as well as the schooling conditions. It reveals white attitude to black township during apartheid. So meaning that's how that's the attitude that white people used to have during apartheid when they see black townships. Yes. A sort of embarrassing backyard to their neat and proper little white world. Remember, their white world was surrounded by restored monument buildings, right? Okay. Where their maids and their gardeners and their delivery boys would go to at the end of the day. Let's move on to symbolism and setting. Also note the symbolism in the names of places that serve as the setting for the play. The name of the location is Breakwater. It is an Afrikaans name meaning brackish water. Brackish water has high salt content, which gives the water a bad taste. Also, when the salt content is brackish, water is too high. It cannot be used to water crops. The name has negative connotations or negative meanings. It suggests that the place is not life-giving. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth. So, Breakwater means a place that is not life-giving. A place that leaves a bad taste in the mouth. Alright? And then the word Kamdipu, where Isabel lives, comes from a Khoi word, which means green hollow. So green hollow means a beautiful protected place, right? The word Kamdipu comes from the Khoi word, which means green hollow. Note that Kamdipu is a fictional town. All right. Okay. Isabel symbolically lives in Green Hollow and Tammy in brackish water. The two places are contrasted in scene 2. So you can also see the inequalities even between the names of the locations. So these two names, they symbolize inequalities between black and white people during the apartheid years. Where Isabel lives, it is a green hollow. Kamdipu, a green hollow. A beautiful protected space. But as for black people, those living in the Breakwater location, those living in the Breakwater location, Breakwater means not life-giving, leaves a bad taste in the mouth. Alright, so yes, the entire scene, Act 1, Scene 1 in Isabel's monologue, it symbolizes or it speaks of the inequalities between black and white people in terms of their living conditions as well as their schooling conditions during the apartheid years. I hope that we are together, and I hope that I have not lost you. If you are lost, please do feel free to comment down below, and then I'll get back to you with some clarification. Yes, that's it for today. I'll get back to you guys with another video as a continuation, since we are still dealing with my Trema Africa. Please don't forget to subscribe, to like and comment and share with your fellow classmates. All right, yeah, stay safe.